News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update. News brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Discussions about grass has been in the news this past week. It started with an announcement by the Salt Lake Area Water Conservancy District that they were launching a program called Salt Lake City Turf Trade, where they are offering large bags of grass seed at an inexpensive price to replace water-demanding turf with a more drought-proof type of grass, a type of grass that stays green and uses at least 30% less water to do so. It is hoped that this will expand statewide. USU Extension has been right in the middle of this. On KBNU's For the People program this past week, one of the key researchers and leaders of this project, Professor Kelly Cope of USU's Plant Soils and Climate Extension Department, said this is a game changer.
Yes, this is a game changer, and it's something that we've been working on for many, many years. In fact, it predates my time at the university, and it's the kind of work that is conducted at lots of institutions across the country, many of which are trialing different kinds of grasses in order to help us as a society use our resources more efficiently and more sustainably.
Dr. Cope said the program that they have cooperated on with Salt Lake City is sort of the natural product of all this work, and she says she's very proud of that program and is very happy to be involved with it. And she said, fortunately, people in Utah are generally interested when it comes to water conservation.
They're very interested. And, you know, I talk a lot about functional turfgrass areas. And as I've mentioned, we don't need to have turfgrass everywhere. But where we do need to have it, we want to be very efficient with that resource. And so this program meets that need. And, you know, the fact of the matter is grasses perform a lot of positive functions in our landscapes. And I think they've been truly unfairly classified as very high water use all the time, no matter what.
Dr. Cope said that simply is not factual. KBNU News Time is 4:07. KBNU weather for tonight, mostly clear, overnight low around 50, and then sunny and hot tomorrow, mid-90s for the high. And it looks like we'll keep it mid-90s at least through Thursday. 87 has been our high today. It's 86 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology, Cache Valley's most trusted name in hearing aid technology. Call 753-HEAR, 753-HEAR.
We might all agree that a vacation to Vegas is good, but Hawaii is better. Same thing when you're building. Wood is good, but metal is better. If you're considering a new building for your farm or business, let Northern Steel Building show you the benefits of metal. Metal is stronger with little or no maintenance, and it doesn't burn. Find out how affordable a metal building really is by visiting northernsteelbuilding.com. That's northernsteelbuilding.com, or call 435-677-7300.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. Jimmy Berman from United Way of Cache Valley is teaming up with JustServe.org and invites individuals, families, organizations, and businesses to volunteer for the annual Day of Caring service. This year, they have added 2 more days. The first one is on Saturday, September 10th. The next is Friday, September 23rd. And then Saturday, September 24th will be the final day. During those service days, they plan to serve nonprofits and community organizations with projects all over Cache Valley, hoping to demonstrate the spirit of volunteerism. Volunteers can sign up for morning or afternoon projects. Everyone who participates in one of the days of service will receive a free Live United t-shirt and a free dinner at the Volunteer Recognition event Saturday, September 24th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at the Willow Park Center stage located at 430 West, 700 South. At last year's event, over 200 people completed 27 nonprofit and community organization projects. And a 25-year-old Pocatello, Idaho man was killed in a vehicle crash early Saturday morning. This occurred at just before 1 a.m. on northbound I-15. Idaho State Police reports the driver of a Chevy Impala was traveling northbound when he drove off the right shoulder, rolled into the median, and caught on fire. The victim was the only occupant in the vehicle and was pronounced dead on the scene. He was not wearing a seatbelt. Northbound lanes of I-15 were blocked for more than 3 hours to allow emergency responders to investigate and clear the area. KBNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Breaking news and stimulating talk. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Hi, this is Chris Wilson at Wilson Motor Company. If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, now is the time to buy during our Labor Day clearance sales event. We have reduced the prices on over 150 pre-owned vehicles with over 125 4x4 trucks and all-wheel drive vehicles. We can help you find the right vehicle. Check out our inventory online at wilsonmotor.com or drop in for a test drive at one of our 2 great locations.
Wilson Motor Company, we make car buying easy.
Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized for you and your family? When you work with Edward Jones in Cache Valley, they focus on what's important to you. They'll help you create a personalized financial strategy backed by their advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. And Edward Jones will partner to help your strategy stay on track, no matter what happens. Call one of the 7 Edward Jones locations in Cache Valley. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, I'm Dr. Anita Chandra with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Helmets are important for every bike ride, no matter how short. Did you know helmets are also important to wear when skateboarding, inline skating, or riding a scooter? A helmet can protect against a skull fracture or other facial injuries. Look for a helmet that fits correctly and that's certified for safety. Make sure you and your child wear a helmet every time. For more, visit healthychildren.org or talk with your pediatrician.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. Monday, August 29th. Just about done with August. Went by fast. Getting a second July here, though, as far as temperatures this week. So
yeah, every day.
Enjoy.
95, 96.
Yeah, it's
not fun.
It's looking a little warm for what's going to, by the end of the week, be the first part of September. But it does give you an excuse to, keep the summer clothes and everything else out and ready. Probably gonna have a few weeks of this, just based on some of the long-term forecasts. So, still very dry out there. Obviously, you've noticed no real significant rain recently. That is going to continue through this week. Clear skies, blue skies, maybe a tiny little cloud or two. But nothing.
We can only hope.
Yeah, fingers crossed that get something different moving in. But the water situation in Utah is it's not as bad as it could be. That's the glass half full. But it is not great, especially as you start to near the central and southern Utah part of the state. There are, in fact, a friend of mine sent a picture of, there's a stream, if you've hiked Kolob Canyon in southern Utah, there's a stream that runs through there, and it's, some years, even in August, it's a significant enough amount of water that you can't jump it. You have to wade it. This year, you could step over it at this time of year, and so it's pretty dry out there. I wanted to point everybody to this. I'm not expert enough in any of these things, and I've not spoken with enough experts here on the show to have any idea what the predictions are on this. But the Salt Lake Tribune today over the weekend, leading with over the weekend in print, today online, leading with what is the result of months of investigation, reporting, photography, filming. It's this gigantic look at the Colorado River and Lake Powell. And it was interesting to me. Again, I don't know a thing about how serious. I know this isn't an official proposal at any point, but in the reporting they explore a potential future where there just really is no more Lake Powell, at least as we all know it, where it's, obviously you're still going to have very wet years and very dry years, drought years, non-drought years, but it's a future in which the demands on Colorado River water in the 5, almost 6 states, if you include Southern California, that depend on that, taking what they need, each state, including Utah, for population growth, and then assuming, drier temperatures, longer dry seasons, maybe shorter winters and less snowpack in some of the areas that feed into the river. And you get this situation where Lake Powell, like we've seen it this summer and last summer, is the new normal. It's something that is most often the case, not the exception. And again, I don't know if that's being predicted. I don't know if that's something that is expected. But the story the Salt Lake Tribune did explored what would happen then, what the options might be. And one was interesting. It was basically turning the dam into, I don't know what this would even cost. I would imagine it would be huge, but exploring ways to still generate power with the dam, but turn Glen Canyon into a once again free flowing river. That would be necessary only because of the needs of power generation. This is somewhere in the range of 70% of the state of Utah gets power from that hydroelectric, those turbines. And they're driven by water weight, by gravity. So there needs to be a certain amount of water above the water entrance to the turbine to actually turn them and do any generation. And if water levels get low enough, there's enough weight to the water to actually effectively turn them, and it generates little, if any, electricity. So it would require basically a removal of the dam and installation of a more river rather than water weight reservoir style hydroelectricity generation. But it is possible that it could be redesigned and still generate a lot of power. And again, about 70% of the state of Utah uses power from that single point of generation. So there are alternatives. Where this is leading us, though, and it's something that Governor Cox has been a very vocal proponent of, acknowledging, he says, that this is a 10, 15, 20, maybe even 25, 30 years down the road solution. The later we wait, though, he says, that's just it's going to take that amount of time anyway. So the later we wait to start. But it has everyone talking about nuclear power, or, nuclear, if you prefer that pronunciation. It's something that the governor has said repeatedly Utah is going to have to embrace. For a lot of different reasons, but the primary reason being population growth, of course. That comes with more demands on water, more demands on land and space and housing and all that. But it also means you have more people running air conditioners, using electricity for general day-to-day life. Also, as we transition, slowly but finally away from fossil fuels and into more of an electric modes of transportation, which is just going to continue to pick up steam. You, of course, have that additional demand on the grids and the power generating sources. Coal is still in use, but its life has been capped. We do have more exploration of thermal, using thermal energy to do that, which is going to be an option here in Utah, but no one knows at this point how much generation is possible there. You, of course, have vastly improved technology around wind and solar, but that also solar takes a lot of space. For solar to be effective, you need a few football fields. So where and how would be a part of that. Wind is a little easier, but also is a little less reliable generation-wise. Wyoming has really built theirs up, their wind power up. Idaho has as well in some areas. Utah not so much yet, but it's on the calendar, roughly, sometime. So all of these, the governor says, are going to be key in meeting the needs, electricity needs alone. But he says it's just not realistic to think of Intermountain West is the word he used in his tweets. It doesn't have to be in Utah, I guess, but it has to be somewhere that the power generated by a nuclear facility would be shared throughout the Intermountain West, the way coal traditionally has been, the way, again, the power generated by the Glen Canyon Dam, other sources like that. So it's going to have to be located in a place. It's going to have to be a place where not a lot of people live. And then, ironically, if you use old technology, it also has to be a place where there's a significant and reliable source of water, which we now know, places that have been eyed before for a nuclear plant location, we've learned. And in a way, I'm glad that we weren't 10 years into a build before we learned that, this water might not be a reliable source anymore. It might not even be there in 10 years. So it throws the apple cart in the air is the phrase the governor used. But he said we can't ignore the reality. And the reality is that as population grows here in Utah, in Wyoming, Idaho, Arizona, parts of California and Nevada, even up into Montana and over to our friends in Colorado, as population grows in all these areas, not nearly as fast as it's growing here in Utah, it's still growing. Electricity demand is going to grow with it, and we're at this point okay. But if we start to lose sources like Glen Canyon, if we start to lose sources that have traditionally been very reliable because they're water based, we've got to replace them with something. And, the governor said it might be solar. It might be wind, solar, and thermal. It might be wind, solar, thermal, and what water generation we still have. And that's enough. Maybe. Who knows? But he said to me, it's absolutely irresponsible to not enter into, or maybe a multi-state entering into, discussions about some type of nuclear power generation here in Utah or somewhere in the Intermountain West. And obviously, picking a location is going to be a fight. Take the NIMBYism you see around an apartment complex being built and supercharge that, because you're talking about a nuclear facility and the potential damage and loss of life, limb, and property should there something go wrong. That's something that's still out there, and you hear all the time technology's changed. They're a lot safer now. The accidents that have happened have actually been, very freak accidents that could be easily avoided. All of that's true, but it doesn't change the fact that if there is an accident in a nuclear facility, it's not like, some stuff spilled on the road and we've got to wipe that up. It's a bit more serious than that. So location would be key, and yet at the same time, it can't be literally in the middle of nowhere. You're going to need a few thousand people to operate the facility. Old technology, it would have to be close to a very reliable water source for cooling. New technology doesn't require that at least as much, but it's also new technology. So it hasn't been as tested and proven as the older technology that is water reliant for cooling. All these things would factor in, and the governor is bringing this up to basically say, this is possibly a 20, maybe even 30-year process, but we need to get serious about it because it has to be a part of the future. I tend to agree. I think I've felt this way for years. If you are concerned about climate change and the pollution we're dumping into the air every day, moving to something that is more a lifestyle that is more electric, more dependent on generated electricity rather than burning of fossil fuels and combustion engines. If that's important to you, I don't see how we get there without more nuclear power in the United States. And I think that's the reality that of the future. But then, again, if someone walked up and said, well, how would you feel about a nuclear reactor to generate electricity that would supply power to Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Arizona, New Mexico, maybe even, we beef up the power grids and it's just an amazing thing, but it's going to be located just outside of Clarkston. Yeah, that's a hypothetical. I don't even know if that would be a good place. Probably not. I think there's a fault line there. So if it went in northern Utah, I guess maybe eastern Box Elder County would be something more discussed. But how would you feel about that? It's easy to accept the reality and agree with the governor and say, yeah, I think the governor's right. I don't see how Utah continues to grow population-wise and we move away from basically what we're dumping into the air every day, which we know is causing problems and just in general not a great idea for the place you live, the planet. If the goal is to move away from that and be a cleaner species overall worldwide, I don't see how we get there without introducing more nuclear power generation. And that means it's going to have to go somewhere. So where? Even if, say, pie in the sky, new technology, it doesn't need to be close to a free-flowing cold water source. Maybe it's something like the underground mini reactors, but a collection of them buried out in the East Desert. And what water they do need is piped in. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's a traditional reactor, but there's a spot where, we know it can operate for 100 years. That water will be reliable, but where? And that's where the governor left things in his tweet storm over the weekend. He said, this is a question I can't answer. I've spoken with other governors in the National Governors Association. It's a question they can't answer, and it's maybe not realistic to expect governors to have the answer. This is going to depend on scientists. This is going to depend on federal nuclear agencies that have already done the legwork on a lot of this stuff. And it's going to depend on not just a single state's support for the idea, but a compact of sort. Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico maybe are going to have to all get together and say, all right, this is the direction we think we need to go. Let's start going there. And it was a pretty impassioned plea from the governor over the weekend saying, Intermountain states need to get realistic about this. This is the future. And I think he's right. What do you think? 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
Northern Utah United Soccer is excited to invite all 4 to 7-year-olds to the best introductory soccer program around, beginning August 29th. This program is designed specifically to help introduce the incredible game of soccer to anyone 4 to 7 years old. Kids will enjoy training sessions and weekly games that help them become comfortable with the ball, along with game conduct and rules. Visit northernutahunited.com. That's northernutahunited.com. For complete details, come play with Northern Utah United Soccer.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. We're seeing more indicators that the housing market slowdown is starting to look familiar. Here are comparisons to 2008. Also, as part of student loan debt forgiveness, the White House plans to shrink discretionary income. We'll explain why that matters. And how Amazon Prime plans to lure NFL viewers to Thursday Night Football. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
What makes essential workers essential?
We build safe roads for you to drive on.
We harvest fresh produce for your families to eat.
We help you heal when you're sick.
We get you where you need to go.
We keep where you work and live clean and safe.
We make sure you get what you need to make your household work.
You're the essential workers who help our nation run. You're in every city, town, and corner of our country, and you come from all over the globe. And you have essential protections under the law. I'm Marty Walsh. The Wage and Hour Division at the Department of Labor helps ensure you receive the essential protections you deserve. If you have questions about your pay or about your job protection during an illness, visit our website or call 866-4US-WAGE. That's 866-487-9243. We can provide help in more than 200 languages.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Labor.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. This is an announcement from the Utah Debate Commission today. Last week I'd announced the schedule as they'd laid out, and then they made some changes over the weekend. So, an update to the announced Utah Debate Commission planned debates for the general election. They'll do these debates for all 4 of the congressional districts. So if you're interested in seeing what is going on in the other districts, we'll get to those dates as well. But the relevant debates for here in northern Utah, and of course we'll have the opportunity to broadcast these as they happen live. The first will be the House District 1 debate. That is, so U.S. House Representatives for District 1, current incumbent there, Representative Blake Moore. That will be at Weber State University at 6 p.m. on October 10th. So October 10th, which is look at the calendar here, that's a Monday. So Monday, October 10th at 6 p.m. at Weber State University. These events are open to the public, ticketed. The tickets are, first come, first serve. So as soon as they make the tickets available, you're going to want to jump to get them if you want to be there in person. But they also are televised and then again broadcast on the radio here at KVNU. So that's 6 p.m. Monday, October 10th for that District 1 debate. And then for the United States Senate debate, this will, of course, be incumbent Senator Republican Mike Lee and challenger independent, a first in Utah, independent Senate candidate, what's his name? Evan McMullen. That is also at 6 p.m., but that will be a week later, Monday, October 17th. So the United States Senate debate, there was a bit of ruffled feathers and et cetera over the weekend, starting last week. Last Friday, Evan McMullen had a weekend in the news, but I don't know if the second story is one he would have preferred. He was followed and harassed from a campaign event by a guy.
Yeah, I was reading about that.
Yeah, just absolutely bonkers.
A little scary.
Some unstable person at one of his campaign events didn't like something he said, or I don't know, I'm speculating there on the reasons, but he followed Evan McMullen and his wife home, which was quite a distance. He was the only details that were given by the arresting officers who tracked the individual down and made the arrest is that he was driving a large truck, a jacked up kind of thing, and that every time he would get up to where they could see him, he would wave a gun and point a gun at them. And he followed them for quite a ways. And McMullen actually, having worked in security for the CIA, has some training similar to the training an FBI agent would get. So he knew what to do to keep them safe, which is basically not to stop. But he said he in an interview, which was first broadcast on CNN and then later reported by Utah media, I don't know why CNN was looking. But CNN found the cause statement in court records, and so they reached out, and McMullen said, this happened a month ago. So he said, I didn't want to make a deal of it. The man's been arrested, and obviously just an unstable person. But the news got out, and so McMullen has filed for a request. He's filed a request in the courts that all the documents be made public so people can see what happened, that this wasn't him targeting someone he disagreed with and that they really were threatened. The arrest, again, has been made, so they've got significant evidence that this occurred outside of McMullen and his wife's story, which was told in the original complaint. And then the Salt Tribune reported that the individual did confess to doing this, but no details on why the individual did it. Anyway, so yeah, a scary thing though. He and his wife driving home from a campaign event a month ago, and someone follows them out of the parking lot and then proceeds to follow them home. And McMullen takes some intentional turns to put it to the test to see, hey, is this person really following us? And it's clear the person is. And then again, keeps brandishing a weapon every time they're inside of each other on the roadways. I don't know, people. Got to ratchet things down a little bit out there, to say the least. So that's the first story that had McMullen in the news this weekend. Second story. The first story that came earlier is Evan McMullen, through his campaign accounts on social media, said that Senator Mike Lee was avoiding debate. Media, Salt Lake and Deseret News journalists reached out to the Utah Debate Commission and said, is this true? And they didn't say no. What they said was, well, we've thrown out several dates and we have not heard yet from Senator Mike Lee on any of those dates, whether they'll work or not. And we are waiting to hear because we want to make the announcement on when the debates will happen this weekend. And they did on Friday finally, but they didn't have the details of the Utah Senate or U.S. Senate debate because, again, they hadn't gotten a response from Senator Lee. The social media post by McMullen said, basically Lee is afraid to debate me, and they're dragging their feet on picking a date so that it can be made to look like the fault of the Utah Debate Commission rather than the Lee campaign. And that post it was on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all of the McMullen campaign accounts. It went pretty viral pretty fast. And so within a couple of days, Utah Debate Commission sent this notice out. They actually sent it on Saturday, and an updated schedule. And Mike Lee, I'm assuming because that complaint from Evan McMullen had gotten so much attention, they agreed to a debate date. And so, again, that is October 17th. It's a Monday evening, 6 p.m., and that'll take place live in person, which, again, you can get tickets if you want to be there in person, but you're going to want to jump on those at utahdebatecommission.org as soon as they're made available, which I believe they do that a few weeks before the event. So probably sometime mid-September, tickets will be available to get. They do these at smaller venues, so it's not going to be a stadium. They will run out of tickets, but that doesn't mean you can't see it. We'll be broadcasting it live here again, October 17th, 6 p.m., United States Senate debate at Utah Valley University, hosted by the Utah Debate Commission, and that will be likely the only debate. We'll, of course, try. I do every cycle, but a lot of the federal races, I don't think they think we're important enough. But we will try. The invitation will be out there for both McMullen and Lee to join us here on the show jointly. And we'll even free up a full 2 hours if they want us to do that. But so we will invite them, but don't hold your breath on that one. Cache Valley, it's too bad, really. But Cache Valley is such a maybe it'll be different in this race. I just thought of this. Usually, when it's a Republican and a Democrat, Cache Valley is just an afterthought for both of the major parties. Democrats know this isn't their place, and Republicans know this is their place. And so they don't really campaign here. They don't need to. So they spend their time and resources elsewhere. In this race, we might see that be a bit different because, McMullen doesn't know who his supporters are. We've never had an independent candidate for a federal race in Utah in our lifetime. Anyone listening. So this is new. McMullen's banking on the simple fact that the majority of registered voters in Utah are unaffiliated. Neither of the major parties has a majority of registered voters to bank on. Although I argue that most people are unaffiliated because it's cool to be unaffiliated. And if you really get talking to them, you'll find out they fall into one of the two partisan camps pretty quickly. Maybe that's not the case, though. Maybe McMullen does have this huge block of unaffiliated registered voters to tap into, and that's what he's banking on. So who knows? Maybe we will see some aggressive campaigning in Cache Valley, in which case maybe we'll get him here on the show. So I know we will be able to speak with candidates from District 1. They're always very friendly to us and always, happy to give us their time. So we will have some presence for District 1 candidates here on the show throughout September and October. But again, the District 1 debate by the Utah Debate Commission will actually take place at Weber State University on Monday, October 10th at 6 p.m. And then we'll broadcast it live here on KVNU as well. And then again, the United States Senate debate with Lee and McMullen taking the stage at 6 p.m. at Utah Valley University on Monday, October 17th. So I've posted these dates to our Facebook page. Again, if you're interested in the others, if you're listening out there maybe along the Wasatch Front, driving now, but you live in districts 2, 3, or 4, dates for those are as such. The District 2 debate, this is October 14th at 8 p.m. at Southern Utah University. 6 p.m. at Southern Utah University. The District 3 debate, October 6th at 6 p.m. at Brigham Young University. And the District 4 debate, October 12th at 6 p.m. at the University of Utah. So, and all of these will be broadcast and televised. So if you want to see the other district debates, there will be options for you. So, but we will be broadcasting here on KVNU the House District 1 debate, October 10th. At 6 p.m. and the United States Senate debate, October 17th, a week later, at 6 p.m. I've posted all the dates and the message from the Utah Debate Commission. Also, utahdebatecommission.org if you're looking to get yourself on a wait list for tickets. That should be up within a week or two, and everything you need to know is there. And we'll be back right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:41. The news is brought to you by Logan Extermination. A 27-year-old Logan man has been arrested for allegedly chatting and traveling to have sex with an undercover police officer who was posing as a 13-year-old girl, according to law enforcement. Angel Victor Zambrano was booked Friday into the Cache County Jail. According to an arrest affidavit, Zambrano contacted the undercover officer on a website where users can chat with others close by. He immediately asked if the officer wanted to have sex. The officer was posing as a teenage girl and explained that she was in school at the time. Zambrano expressed trepidation at first, but then proceeded to engage in a sexually explicit conversation with the officer. He suggested meeting in a public place and then going to his apartment near the Cache Valley Mall. As the chats continued, Zambrano allegedly sent an inappropriate photo of himself. He asked the undercover officer to meet him at a location in Logan. The arrest report described how Zambrano sent a photo of his face and what he was wearing so the undercover officer could know it was him. At the determined location and time he arrived and matched the photo sent, he was taken into custody by waiting police. A man died after a rollover crash in the Knowles 200 race. Officials with the Tooele County Sheriff's Office said the driver and the victim, identified as 33-year-old Charles Jerome Glover, were in a trophy truck when the rollover occurred. They said the drivers suffered minor injuries, while Grover received light-threatening injuries and died at the scene. Sergeant David Blizzard said the trucks were high-performance vehicles with safety features that were all utilized at the time of the crash. According to a GoFundMe page, Glover leaves behind a wife and 2 children. And Alabama tight end Cameron Latu's status is uncertain for their opener against Utah State down in Tuscaloosa with an undisclosed injury. That game will be televised this next Saturday evening at 5:30 p.m. on the SEC network. Check your carrier for channel. KVNU Game Day will break it down with Al Lewis before the game and talk about it afterwards here on KVNU. News time is 4:44.
As the summer's war against weeds and pests rages on, a new bug threat starts hopping around, destroying garden plants and flowers. Luckily, you are ready for them with Logan Extermination's Perimeter Grasshopper Control. It's like a minefield for the minute menace.
Good job, men. Another bug bites the dirt. Let's regroup before the next wave hits.
They do what they are trained to do. Strike terror into termites, bash the bed bugs, and cook the cockroaches. Remember the brave men and women at Logan Extermination. Call 752-8450.
Treatment areas vary. Call for a quote today.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly clear skies, low around 50, and then sunny, mid-90s tomorrow, mid-90s on Wednesday as well. It's been to 87. Right now it's 86 at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Logan Dental Associates. Make your appointment at Logan Dental Associates with Dr. Brandon Prevey, Dr. Paul Harris, or Curtis Taylor, or Anthony Larson. Or if it's more convenient, visit them at their Cherry Creek Dental office in Richmond. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Rochelle Hanks, bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of financial advisor Tron Arnold and Edward Jones for Monday, August 29th. Stocks continued to slide today. Stocks were notably lower today, continuing the sell-off that started Friday after Jerome Powell indicated the Fed would hike rates even in the face of a possible recession. Growth-style stocks underperformed. It was a broadly risky day, with Bitcoin falling as well, briefly falling below the key $20,000 mark. Inflation data released next week will likely determine whether the Fed raised rates at their next policy meeting. 10-year U.S. Treasury yields were up, closing in on 3.1%, along with other government 10-year benchmark rates. Oil continues to rise after OPEC announced possible supply cuts to stabilize the market. However, natural gas is sizably lower after seeing prices rise to $10 plus a gallon as Europe grapples with energy supply crises. The dollar is stronger today, another sign that investors are scrambling for safe haven assets. On the international front, Asian and European shares are also lower. Today, U.S. equities closed lower. The Dow closed down 184 points at 32,099. The Nasdaq closed down 124 points at 12,018, and the S&P closed down 27 points at 4,031. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 3.11%. In stocks of local interest, Thermo Fisher is down $7.02 to $556.69. Home Depot is down $1.78 to $296.32. Autoliv is up 31 cents to $78.59. Lowe's is up 8 cents to $201.07. Walmart is up $1.28 to $132.88. Nucor is down 95 cents to $139.56. Coca-Cola is down 38 cents to $62.73. Kroger is down 8 cents to $48.30. And General Electric is up 78 cents to $76.05. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was up $3.78 at $96.84, and the spot price of gold was up 20 cents to $1,750. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Tron Arnold, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1202 South Highway 89 in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact any of our 7 Edward Jones offices in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Cache Valley is growing. If you're new to the area or here for school, you should pick up a free copy of the Best of Northern Utah magazine. That's where you'll find the area's top businesses, voted on by our local community. Any service or product you might need, you'll find it in the Best of Northern Utah magazine. Pickup locations are throughout Cache Valley. For a location near you, visit bestofnorthernutah.com. Our local businesses are the heart of our community, so please support all of our business community by shopping local.
Best of Northern Utah.
I'm Elizabeth Smart. Sexual exploitation and violence are unimaginable crimes that far too many people in our communities experience. In the U.S. alone, a person is sexually assaulted every 68 seconds. Every 9 minutes, that victim is a child. It's time these numbers change. Learn more about how you can join me in the fight against child sexual exploitation at malouffoundation.org.
Great question from a listener. Before we move on from the nuclear talk, again, we've been discussing earlier in the hour, Governor Cox over the weekend saying nuclear energy has to be a part of the Intermountain West's future. It's just not realistic unless, someone stumbles across some magic energy generating source that we don't know about yet. It's impossible to meet the needs of both the growing population, but also the expectations and demands of becoming a cleaner place, putting less pollutants in the air, slowing our contribution at least to climate change. The governor said we can't meet all those goals at once without nuclear energy, and he's right. But 10 years from now, maybe technology has changed enough that's not the case. But where it's a 10, 20-year process to get nuclear energy up and running, the governor is basically saying we got to start having a conversation now, just in case. Worst case scenario, we build it and run it for 5 or 10 years and then realize we didn't need to do it, and it can be shut down, right? But at the same time, a lot of questions: where, how. Imagine the NIMBYism you see for an apartment building getting built somewhere in Utah right now. Imagine that for a nuclear reactor for electricity. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting discussion, to say the least. Governor tweeting about that over the weekend. Listener chiming in here, I'd ask listeners before going to the news at the bottom of the hour, what do you think? Where? If you like the idea, or are you completely opposed to the idea? One listener chiming in here through the For the People Google chat and just pointing out that, asking, but also pointing out something very relevant, which is this doesn't necessarily have to be Utah. I mean to meet the challenge, it's got to be Intermountain West, and it has to be something you can plug in or build a grid to so that electricity generated can be supplied to the areas that are going to be losing some sources, like 70% of Utah, if we can no longer consider the Glen Canyon Dam a reliable source, which, is a likely future here. But it doesn't have to be in Utah. It could be in some of those very, very remote areas in Wyoming, although they're already working on that. The problem is as the governor pointed out, it needs to be a multi-state effort, and right now you still have some states kind of sticking their heads in the sand, and unfortunately Wyoming's one of those. Wyoming's back where Utah was 10 years ago. Wyoming's still fighting for coal, refusing to read the writing on the wall, but there's a good reason for that. Coal and mineral extraction in general and oil drilling is putting a lot of people to work in Wyoming. But, some foresight on their part, they'd say, okay, we need to start planning for a future when that's not putting a lot of people to work and make sure that there are other places for them to work. I feel like Wyoming is eventually going to have to get there. If Utah could, Wyoming can, but they're not there yet. And so that's one challenge to entering today, for example, some kind of multi-state compact to discuss, building a nuclear facility. But the governor's right. I think we need to do it. It is the cleanest fuel source, period. I get it. The risks are huge if something goes wrong. The locations, it can't just go anywhere. It's extremely costly, and it takes forever to actually get them up and running. So there are, things to consider along those lines. But I don't see, with the population growth projections for not just Utah, but also Idaho and Nevada, and, I don't see how we can sustain this without introducing either nuclear energy or something that we haven't figured out yet. Maybe we do. Maybe 10 years from now, we find out there's some way to tap thermal energy in a way we've never been able to before, and it's so reliable that we've got 50 years before we have to think about it again. That's definitely a possibility. But right now, looking at the options, it would be foolish to not consider nuclear energy. So, listener wants to know. The listener's question is, why does it have to be Utah? And it doesn't. It really doesn't have to be Utah. But it has to be somewhere that serves that could serve the Intermountain West, either by building a new grid to it or putting it, in a place that can be attached to existing grids. The power has to get distributed to the places that are going to be losing some sources as water becomes less reliable here in Utah, for example. So, but no, the answer is the governor's talking about it as if it's going in Utah because he's the governor of Utah, and it would be kind of irresponsible, I guess, of him to make this argument and say, we absolutely have to have one in eastern Wyoming. He's the governor of Utah. How dare you? But maybe there's a better location, and maybe technology allows for locations we haven't considered yet in general discussions, because it's been a long time since we seriously talked about this. But I'm happy to see the governor tweeting about it. So The governor also had some things to say over the weekend about a very unfortunate, and that's an understatement, situation that played out at BYU involving a racist fan and a volleyball player who was black, and what the governor had to say right after this.
Upgrading your landscape is now easy and possible with the creative touch of Canyon Landscaping. Designed planting beds, landscape lighting, and paver patio upgrades will let you easily relax, entertain, and enjoy your home. Elegantly designed, professionally installed, on a budget, on time, guaranteed. Discover more at canyonlandscaping.com. Then call to schedule your free consultation. Call 752-3838 or go to canyonlandscaping.com. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
Believe it or not, a high-quality furnace air filter will reduce the amount of dust and pollen carelessly floating around in your home. John at the Duck Hunter says always buy a higher quality air filter. If you can see through a filter, you probably should pass on it. If you're not sure about which furnace air filter to buy, give John a call. He only carries the highest quality, which will reduce the dust and pollen in your home. For a free consultation, call the Duck Hunter at 770-4813.
We are the Duck Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duck Hunter.
Our most vulnerable veterans are isolated at hospitals. And during their greatest time of need, their loved ones can have little or no contact with them. Imagine having to shelter in place forever. Learn how you can help at healvets.org. Help Heal Veterans, with the support of citizens like you, is making things better together. Learn more at healvets.org. This message is furnished by Help Heal Veterans, a not-for-profit organization.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Big in the news today. This actually is something that played out over the weekend and got most of its direct coverage Saturday. But Governor Spencer Cox, for example, weighing in on this via Twitter as well after his nuclear energy rant, which I think he's right on that one again. The news broke of it didn't come from BYU. It was actually Duke University that broke the news. But short version of this, there was a fan shouting racist language throughout, it sounds like, a volleyball match that took place at BYU. And the Duke University Athletics Association, the student or the athlete, the volleyball team member who was the target of the racist shouting, and the coach of that team put out a statement criticizing BYU, saying nobody stopped the game, nobody confronted this fan. It became a pretty big story in just a short period of time, and BYU put out this statement, said all of God's children deserve love and respect, and BYU Athletics is completely committed to leading out in abandoning attitudes and actions of prejudice of any kind and rooting out racism. When a student athlete or fan comes to a BYU sporting event, we expect that they will be treated with love and respect and feel safe on campus. BYU Athletics has banned this fan. They were able to find out who this was, a regular apparently, and that person's now banned from all BYU athletic events. Duke University, though, BYU apologized in their statement and said, we wholeheartedly apologize to Duke University and especially its student athletes competing last night, Friday night they mean, for what they experienced here at BYU. And again, the criticism was that nobody did anything. This happened throughout the game. Governor Cox, Saturday morning, tweeted out this statement. He said, I'm just catching up on this terrible story. I'm disgusted that this behavior is happening and deeply saddened if others didn't step up to stop it. As a society, we have to do more to create an atmosphere where racist bleep holes, the governor said, like this, never feel comfortable attacking others. So some strong words from the governor, some farm words, as he calls them, that I can't say here on the radio. So the governor pretty angry about this. BYU since then has said they're going to take a look at this. The coach of the team, who was also criticized for not stopping what was happening because Duke teammates said she could hear it but did nothing, was invited to meet with the parent of and the athlete and the parent of the athlete while they were still here in Utah. That meeting didn't happen. Schedule-wise, they weren't able to do it. But the BYU Athletics says that they are arranging a sit-down. And, the young girl's mom has been very vocal on social media about her disappointment and how BYU handled and as it happened and responded afterwards to this. So the governor's saying he's not happy with how it played out either. We'll see where it goes. I don't know. I've linked all this on our Facebook page. Hour 2 of today's